good cars, good loot. You just have to split a little bit, and you got also the same rotation path. Don't hot drop if it happens. I'm mad.
Well, we don't want to make Maxman mad. We don't like when he gets angry. As we're going to head back to our commentators to kick off our last two matches of the day. John Allen and Blake.
Oh, that is for sure. You do not want to make Maxman angry. He is a terror when he gets going. So don't go to Picardo if you know what's good for you. That's right. We're getting over to Miramar now. The desert awaits for match number 5.
Where was this horizontal plane path in Erangel? That's the real question. As we head over from El Pozo to Truck Stop. Nice easy plane path for everyone to work with. Especially important on a map like this as well, where it is a lot harder to get towards the points of the map that you like to be in, with it being so much larger than any of our others. But it is now the last couple of matches here in the first day of PMGC group stage. It's been a bit of a long day, but we're here now. All right, we're here now.
That's true. We have entered the final furlong as we head over to the desert for the day. I don't like what I'm seeing, Blank. It's racking my nerves. I think it's safe to say we've got a Picardo hot drop.
Yeah, probably. Unfortunately, on our hands. Inco, known to be a team that is rather hell-bent on going to the spots that they like to take. Heading over towards Picardo here to start things off. Again, I think at PMGC, this is where the hot drops need to start ending. I think maybe you can go for them at the start here, but I wouldn't even bother with it. I mean, already Inco starting things off here, looking to win out this fight versus Bro Harame. Good shots to start off though from one show.
For a second as well. I mean, this is the most volatile part of this fight. Once the two teams separate into opposing apartment block buildings, that is when things can get spicy. Juancho doesn't quite catch the windowsill there to hop in on the next floor up, but goes down and underneath instead, thinks they're too high up and immediately gets sprayed down. The Micro Uzi not even going to be able to find that flush either. As the reses come through, the backup comes in as well. Inco moving their forces in. This is where teams will start to extricate themselves from one another. This is where it will slow down, and we'll be here for the next 12 minutes.
Juancho heads back outside. Menabete supporting the AKM at distance, preventing Rig from actually getting out this doorway here. It's a good off angle for them to have. Should enable the Reds to go through. Onto Juancho. Back up on his feet with Tommy gun. Gear not looking too hot here for Bro Harame, honestly. Nice shot.
Nice little double pump there with the double barrel inactive. Finds another knock over towards Harame Bro, but another sent back in response. Juancho goes down, so both teams losing a player. And this is what you can expect from Picardo hot drops. Nobody really coming out clean. It is just a terrible time all round. I think it's safe to say that's what they're looking for. The vault on in. Federal able to make his way down a floor, not using the staircase. Hopping on in. Grabbing some loot. Knows there's still players marauding around upstairs, but not really too much you can do about it right now.
Yeah, again, it's the sort of engagement that, like you said, no one really wins in. Unless it is one team where the skill gap is so much higher than the others, where they can quickly and comfortably take down an enemy squad. Inco is just ruining their chances, honestly, doing this. Remember, Miramar is 2 maps out of your day. It's quite hefty in terms of the points total, and it's one of the few maps where, because so much movement is allowed in that early game, and some of the positions towards the end game are so definite in terms of who wins, you can get these really chunky games off the back of it with high elimination count. So giving that up for maybe 1 or 2 elims early on in the match, I don't think it's too worth it for Inco. Looking for them, they are going up against Bro Harame, who I would say sort of equal skill range to them.
And the numbers bear that out as well, with 1 elimination going either way. Dual wielding right now. Yappy for Bro, completely in the wrong building. That's about time. Vitali, staying on the top floor. And this is where you just see, like I said before, the 12-minute mark come and go. Especially with this fact that this position is in the first circle. We're going to be waiting here for a long time between these two teams. I mean, the standoff I don't even... Like, what can you do here? You're getting that spray, you're waiting for them to waste ammo so you can push up, but they're just going to fall back, get that reload, and hold the staircase further away. There's finally a little bit of an opening, and Federales may have overexposed there with the jump out, but no one's there to punish. They're looking for flushes.
Yeah, Federales gets knocked as well. That's from Nenebete. He's been playing a great angle off on the side. Looks like Inco likely will win this fight after all.
And they know where he is. They'd spotted Yappy's rotation earlier on. That's not how you get up there. From Vitali. Gonna flub the jump a little bit, but now they move around. Potential to res here for Federales, I think, might not be available, actually. The dual wield, though, is he going to have enough ammo to be able to hold this triple run out? The hop over, nah, not even going to be able to get a shot off.
That will be Inco taking themselves the first win here over Picardo with 4 elims on side. I still don't think it's advisable. We'll see if it changes in the future. Maybe Bro Harama gives up the spot. It was a good shot from BTR early on over towards Carrillo. And there will have to be an immediate response here because getting up this mountainside is a little bit tough at times. It'll take a tiny bit of time to make the rotate in the vehicle. Here's that replay. At the start of the game here from Elementrix, getting that first blood before anything even began in Picardo, actually.
He was the progenitor of the conflict in this match, Aaron.
He's lucky.
There's someone already up there. That is very lucky, actually. Goodness me. The fact that he's not down just there is pretty insane right now for Zeus.
Yeah, that's a miracle, honestly, for Zeus. He went down to around about 2 HP, realistically. Able to instantly just send wide. Get off the top side. Carrillo did get rezzed by McGrillen. And had a medkit as well, apparently, in the back pocket. Don't want to use up any of those stims early on. I think medkit early here is probably the right choice, especially if you're considering staying up here for quite some time. Down towards the southeast, southwest side. West-east of El Pozzo. The mountain range here. Full in play. You kind of want to use those stims instead, just to keep yourself nice and topped.
Team Spirit making their way in from the south side out to the west edge of Picardo. Oh, Aura, want to go on up there? Get in a scrap with Rita. Repositioning Sky forwards. There's a lot of players moving in for her. This is a big commit to the high ground here. Outside of the fields, and it's going to work out. I mean, Sky connects that spray. Darkin's just done, and okay, Zeus lose that outward point. Ooh, big nade.
Yeah, Seka's not too great. Nade's out his own vehicle. Borrow. Send a nade across, but yeah, Rita getting sprayed down that distance is it's a good shot. There's not much you can say else about it, realistically. I think Rita, if he'd held the initial nade, might have got quite a lot of value off the back of it, and potentially Rita doesn't go down there. I think he had to hold the angle, but was just a little bit unconfident. I think it's because he only had one nade in pocket. Was hoping to back down and nade off the back of his teammates, hopefully get another one off it.
Ooh, nasty shift.
Yeah,
look
cool.
at that. All the way up northwest to Crater Fields. Keeps all of that area to the east of Trailer Park in as well. So expect a lot of teams moving north, moving on that south side as well up to the west edge before we get into this one thick.
Yeah, it's a grim push for a lot of teams over towards that northwest side. I mean, most teams have already sent it up over towards Hacienda, so they've got a long way to go now. We'll have to start sending on fruit. Muerte, though, with a lot of space to control over the north side, they can pass through La Cobreria nice and easily, potentially head towards the north side of Crater Fields off the back of that. Yeah, not a position on the map that a lot of teams really want to play in. They'll pop it down towards the south side as well. There's a lot of moving parts this circle here.
A rough time of stuff on the watchful eyes of Aura. Taking shots over towards rotations coming through over towards Crater Fields. Real rough time of stuff for everybody moving in now. Muerte have made it through on this northern side. They've swung through and grabbed a bit of this hillside ahead, but Aura still have such great high ground angles. The issue that they have now is that they are right on the edge. They are committing to this high ground play.
Yeah, best thing for Aura to do right now is just kind of to look out towards the east side, pick up as many points as they can from that, because there's a huge amount of teams moving through fairly open ground as well. No fear, though, up against Loops. Fits in underneath, takes some shots, does win out on the trade. Good dodges, good ducks as well to bait out some of the shots over the top end.
That's a great pickup for No Fear. Aura still racking up those points a little bit. Nice and steady. What a pace for them. Over to Twisted Minds, they're moving in from the south side, going up towards Alpha 7's position. You can see they are over these hills, but Zeus and Major Pride not so lucky, embroiled with one another. Major Pride doing okay, but they've lost a player now. 4 eliminations found and keeping up those tallies. Trying to fend off Vampire with everything they got, but Vampire not quite stuck into this circle just yet.
They've had a long journey to make. And I think a lot of teams had the similar idea of setting up towards that north side and trying to break in on the south. You got Freakin' for Robs here, Twisted Minds. So, sort of back to the old Nigma Galaxy roster, honestly. Freak, Lord, and Coops. With Doran being the standout here on the team. But a lot of residual history in terms of teamwork between all these players. Means that this isn't too terrible of a switch out. And for Robs, he's not on his game today, let's put it that way. So I think it's fair enough for him to move out there.
I wonder if it's a map-specific choice, right? Going into Miramar, if this is something that we're going to see repeatedly from Twisted Minds, bring Robs back in for the first 4, last 2 going over towards Freak. And as you said, there is that synergy that exists from Nigma Galaxy rosters of old. So potentially, it's a map-specific one. Obviously, the little additions can make a lot of difference, right? You're changing a quarter of your team when you change out a player. So if for some reason it's more performance, I'm wondering if that's the reason.
It would make sense as well. I mean, Robs for the longest time kind of has specialized in hand-to-hand combat, close quarters engagements that he's so well known for. And I mean, Miramar just isn't that. This is the map where you see the most amount of Mini 14s in play, the most amount of DMRs been brought out, and a lot of times you want to see Robs with a shotgun in his hand, and he doesn't really come online until you get to like stage 6, stage 7.
I think the biggest question about it for me is who does Maxman support now? Because the Frenchman isn't on the battlefields anymore, right? So what's going on? What's going on there? We'll have to check in with him over on the analyst desk after this one to see just who he's backing. Team Spirit sat in the middle of these crater fields. I mean, this is always a little bit of a risk to go to these compounds. I mean, we saw them do it over towards Ruins on Sandhawk at the start of the day. They did have to leave it eventually. Not gone very well for them there. RSG, I think it was, to be able to take them down from the south side of Ruins. But here they are again in a very isolated central position.
Yep.
Safe for now, but once the circle leaves, a lot more tricky.
Again, for Team Spirit, I think they've got one more gamble match in them. 28 points right now. This is the time where they're somewhat safe in 5th place, so they can gamble on a match like this, gamble towards credit fields, and if the circle keeps going over towards that way of things, they'll have a fantastic match moving forward. But if it does move away, then a lot of teams already know that they're in here. You saw that some of the vehicles are already blown up, so escape from that location is slightly less available. But we'll wait and see what happens in stage 4. For the time being, Paragin don't quite have the grip on the side of the mountain. To be honest with you, Buggy shouldn't be able to do that in the first place. So Paragin trying to mess with the laws of physics.
It is a silly thing to be able to climb up beyond vertical surfaces. But that's just sometimes how it is, you know? That's just how it be.
Yeah, next circle close very shortly. 20 seconds now before stage 4. Vampires, though, have had a hell of a day. I've been really happy with the Vampires. And I think that they're a team that a lot of people have taken their eyes off over recent years, just in terms of their performance. I mean, they were unbelievable. They've made all the money in the world, to be honest here, over at PMWI and PMWC. So I think they're fairly pleased with how things have gone already. But they're still a consistent factor in a lot of our international tournaments. They're by no means a slouch team. Yeah, I'd like to see a bit more of them here in PMGC.
Like you said, one of the highest earning rosters, I think, in the world for PUBG Mobile, which is saying something. Come on, Paragin. Look, it's not working.
Yeah,
it's not
wasn't
me.
meant to
It's
be.
definitely you.
It really wasn't meant to be. So
That's just
I think it's time to give it up.
stop being silly. It looks like a little beetle on his back, trying to right himself.
I think for Inco as well, down towards his south side, these are the knock-on effects of having that hot drop in Picardo because it takes up so much time. You saw that the boys weren't really all that looted at all. So you need to not only win that engagement in Picardo, but then you need to spend time to loot, and then you have to make your rotate. So you waste a good 6 minutes of time where you could potentially have been rotating. Muerte here, looking outwards as teams move towards them off in the distance. I think that is DRX.
Muerte trying to leave some lead, at least into the side panels, if not connecting to the bodies of DRX. Pusher pushed off a little bit on the angle as well. Can't fully go for the spray peek. Shots coming in make that a little bit too tough, but DRX still maneuvering, getting their way into the north side. Team Spirit still sit ahead of them.
Yeah, teams having to pass through credit fields is a little bit worrisome for them. I think Team Spirit will have a pretty good chokehold over towards that area, and it's RSG, Muerte, DRX all have to make that decision to move down from that north side. And there you go, Team Spirit already finding 2 players from Muerte right off the back there. With Tresley falling down and knocking himself. I think there's just one more player left alive on Muerte then. That should be them now out.
DRX taking shots, everybody laying down the Lord, and Muerte out, but everybody in this northwest side still needs to make their move. RSG need to try and shunt in, DRX as well. In the meantime, Vampire going to try and slam into this eastern point of it. Vampire taking a knock, but that's not going to slow them down. Stone continues to move forwards, continues this pressure.
Yeah, pushing over towards DRX. I mean, they've waited a little bit, and they saw the push and pull coming through from DRX as well as Muerte finally find their moment to move on in. Here's DRX on our screens, currently safe, tucked away inside a building, but Vampires, Team Spirit all close by.
Leading out the charge towards the 2 players from DRX inside the shack. The burn is there, tags both of them, forces them out. The smoke's got the cover on the vision, but the burn is still super strong. The nades continue to fly on in as well. Hyunbin, Kaikse, both having a real tough time of it. But the flex out from Bay right now, from RSG, could be a massive game changer here. Vampire, they've taken 2 knocks. Both of them can get res. They're not both on the back lines, but they're under fire, under threat from Bay. He finds Stoned, and that is both players on the back lines for Vampires knocked.
I mean, he's out in the blue, but he's doing a tremendous job to put the hurt in over towards Vampires. And at stage 5, it's getting a little bit difficult. He pops the first aid kit, but the element of surprise is now gone. More shots sent over towards him. He's just ducking, dodging. Get himself out of the way. He's poking his little head over the top side.
Oh no. That's so nasty. He does go down, but Vampire cut in half there. So unfortunate. We still got Tony K and Schweppes. 2 very powerful players in their own right. This northwest side still continues to punish everybody.
I mean, for RSG, they were sort of done for there. And the fact that Bay's able to pick himself up 2 points off the back of it, pretty sure they'd be fairly pleased with that result, honestly. It's a dangerous maneuver. I don't think Vampires were expecting it. And I wouldn't have expected it either, you know. A north side push is essentially a suicidal play, but it gets them a couple of points off the back. And for Vampires, you just don't expect desperation like that.
Team Spirit having a little bit of a scrap going on right now. Trying to fend off their position, but on the south side in the meantime, BTR clashing with Inco. Seems like these 2 teams just will not leave each other alone. BTR looking to try and win this one out again. Satar down on the high ground, but it's all up to Nenebetse for Inco. Looks for more. We'll be able to find another spray down. A big challenge now in La Par with the pump action. Mini 14 in hand as well, but the nade should seal the deal. As it doesn't quite hit all of the damage. Genforce up the hill. The nade again just about tags enough damage in, and BTR stay alive. Will Twisted Minds third party this effectively?
Yeah, lovely bit of revenge coming through for BTR, but Twisted Mind's already sending down the hill, and there's a time limit on this one. Both players are rezzing simultaneously, but instantly Twisted Minds is already in position. There's shots though from DX Xavier on high, which saves the life, and Satar actually gets back up off his knees and is back into the engagement here.
Oh my goodness, the timing just a little bit too slow for Twisted Minds. Sure, they'll be able to get this res coming on through, but now the element of that drop shot, that third party is not going to be there. A leathering from Levi is there as he takes Lord down, and this time the flush looks pretty good. 2 players out, and Twisted Minds flex out may just be their downfall.
Yeah, I mean, DXAV has been holding a gorgeous amount of positions over towards this western side for such a long time. They've got this 4-man split going on. Smoke goes down, so they're very much aware of these shots coming through from DXAV, and Lepar barely makes it out of there. As Adeti, who has performed fairly phenomenally over the last 4 matches of the day, continues to make a name for himself here on DXAV.
DXAV trying to play this edge controlling style. It's working okay for them so far today, but they do want a little bit more. Loops finding Major Pride. There's a bit of a crossfire onto Major Pride's position right now with Twisted Team Spirit and with Loops, with angles over towards them. Twisted Minds, they are in a real tough spot now. With BTR, all 4 players alive, are right over this lip. A single nade would take both of them. Although they are splitting themselves, one in front and one behind of the bus. Of course, just trying to hedge their bets here. Go either side, but it's likely you lose one to this nade. Let's see who goes down. Freak breaks out, takes damage, but doesn't fall.
Yeah, it trickles down. And I think now for Twisted Minds, it's a difficult scenario because they know their position. They walk straight back into it, and Freak catches a nade to the face. Honestly, it was a good third party from Twisted Minds. It was right timing. It was just a misunderstanding of where DXAV was currently playing, and that back slash that came through onto them. Team Spirit need to move in, as does Mirren Sejong, but Alpha 7 kind of just chilling down towards the south side of the map. It was a good rotate from them, and they've had to calm things down a lot. I don't think Alpha 7's been as quite as impactful as they'd like, though. Miramar typically is their best map of all.
9 teams remain, but a lot of stragglers here. BTR staying up as 4.
It's a good
Not a
pick.
super healthy vehicle there. But they will make their way up north now and into a little bit of treacherous ground up towards closer to Crater Fields. You don't really have too much to play with here. It's kind of nasty. Alpha 7 with the compound going to make things really tough on the south side.
It's a great pickup from Team Spirit over towards final from Mirren Sejong, because he was trying to provide an anchor point for the rest of the team to move over towards. And Team Spirit realized that they are limited on time. They need to move out from these warehouses eventually. But Major Pride is in their way, as are Mirren Sejong, but they cut them down just a little bit. So it's 2-2 there for Major Pride as well as Mirren Sejong. But Team Spirit's in the worst position of them all.
No.
Great shots from Hoxie alongside with DXAV.
This is the difficulty, right? That central position inside the crater is so exposed as soon as you have to leave it. And Team Spirit, they've been locked down there for a long time, but they lose 2 almost immediately as they try and step out. BTR trying to deal with the remnants of Twisted Minds, do so successfully. Will look for the res, but they've got an element of DXAV sent out their way as well. Paragin right on top of them. You can see he's up on that high ground, has some angles there. Doesn't need to expose right now, doesn't need to try and go for a push, but it's going to be a tough time. Team Spirit lose other, and again, just cut down out in the open.
Yeah, it's a good play from Major Pride. I mean, they set themselves up perfectly to deny both Team Spirit as well as Mirren Sejong, and they picked up 10 eliminations off the back of it. And I thought Team Spirit was doing well with the 7 eliminations they've been able to accrue. So just effect now remaining for the squad outside of the Zone 2. I'd like to go down soon. For effect, the best scenario would be to get towards the top 5 and play off the back of that. Yeah, if I'm looking at this map, though, I would probably call a DXAV win. I think they love circles like this on Miramar, where they control a bunch of space, a bunch of angles. The communication is very effective on that squad of where they need to realign their sightlines to.
I think it also somewhat depends on the conclusion of Alpha 7 versus Loops. I think if Alpha 7 can get to the Crater Ridge line, then there is a chance that they can take this one away. But that, I think, is fairly unlikely, given that DXAV should have angles on this approach as well. Given that Loops will be able to spot these players coming a mile off, they'll be ready for it. You see, they already sending in shots from Neil Zada.
So Soko goes extremely center. Actually benefits quite a lot over towards BTR, who I don't believe have lost a player just yet. They're still quite happily as a 4-man. They'll have to deal with DXAV as they push on through. And although DXAV's been taking a lot of shots to a lot of different teams, been able to get 3 eliminations, they haven't been able to pick up too many of the points or too much of the loot off those bodies. I'll have to work with what they've got here. Good shot from Effect, actually, over towards Luz. Picks up Rafina. And we'll get the elimination off the back of it. Send them towards 8 now. He's very much out the zone. He is going to struggle to get in.
He's got the buggy, but it's missing a tire. It'll be a little bit slow off the mark. Needs a lot of smoke to give him that cover. And even then, where does he go? Gonna have a real tough time. Alpha 7 do manage to get up towards this bridge line. And actually, this gives Effect an opportunity. He could try and step in, third party this. Alpha 7 able to take them down. Can the reses come through in time? Because Evo Station wants to take down the last player from Team Spirit. They will do so successfully. Major Pride up to 11 eliminations now. Alpha 7 have managed to get this crossing, have managed to get closer to the ridgeline, and they will be able to res up to 4.
Yeah, it was a great push from Alpha 7. Really good fight between them and Loops. And they were just distracted, honestly. I think that's what gives Alpha 7 the movement to head on that way. And I think as soon as you see that compound down towards the south move out from the circle, you better expect a push coming through on that south side. Finally, Elementrix is taken down there from Major Pride. That's from DXavier. You can still control this ridge side, but Alpha 7 is getting further and further into this match, and it's getting a little bit terrifying.
This is them up to that ridge line. This is what I was talking about. That transition is now accomplished, and it gives them a really big advantage here. With BTR keeping DXavier at bay, and they themselves are trapped in. As soon as Evo Station goes down here with the blue zone pushing in, that'll be a fairly short order. They just need to pick off a couple of players from this engagement out to their west side, and this is Alpha 7's game.
Yeah, the worst thing that can happen to Alpha 7 right now is just a couple of pickoffs over towards that back line. But it's not likely going to be something that pulls through because right now BTR is way too occupied with DXavier. If anything, Alpha 7 could just slowly march up towards that western edge and break out into this fight between them and BTR. I think they're just slightly worried about potentially DXavier's angles on this fight.
DXavier, I mean, reading that Evo Station's going down and leveraging that northern side now, the slopes downhill, is really important for them. This position, this movement, is the only thing that's going for them right now. They've disengaged from BTR. This is going to allow BTR to take shots over towards Alpha 7. It re-engages the triangle-style conflict that BTR were kind of hoping for. But DXavier are no longer at the back of the queue, so it gives them both a little bit more of a chance against Alpha 7.
Grelin spotting over top side. DXavier currently actually do have a fairly nice setup, but it is isolated. Good shots over towards BTR. Takes down Satara in the front line. And Alpha 7 look to put the pressure on now. On that western edge. The only difficulty for DXavier is that they are essentially going to be playing from the low ground into this end game. If Alpha 7 are able to pick up the pieces over towards BTR. Good nade over towards Lapar, and another one over towards that front line. Goodness me, Zuxi though, what a shot.
Excellent shot over towards Mafioso, holding out that flank. Lapar gets that heal off for BTR as well. Playing as 3, their backs to the rock. They're fighting out of the corner, and Zuxi looks for more. Mafioso gets flushed. And now McGrellin, the forward point for Alpha 7. DXavier re-engaging, but Alpha 7 have the central track here. And with Revo on the backline, they can't commit to the push to BTR. They would allow DXavier too much wiggle room.
It's a hard fought fight from BTR. Again, they're sort of like a team that if you back them into a corner, they can be truly vicious, but so not a lot of times you see them backed into that corner. It's a difficult scenario from here. The vehicles posting up. Now they need to readjust where their focus is. Good initial nade and good shots from Lapar again. But it is Gemfos to go down.
Paragin with the nade cooking. In comes the Alpha 7 barrage as well. Look at the nades pouring on over the top, but Lapar not going to let it phase him, popping this first aid. Alpha 7 putting more and more pressure on. Levi's going to hold it, but Paragin lands the flush on towards Genfos. Now, 2 players for BTR still in action. Alpha 7 on 3, DX Xavier on 3 as well, but they're going to have to push towards each other. Alpha 7 lose their backline as Lapar frags out of his mind here. Carrillo looking to try and step up towards him, and finally, McGrellin is able to land the final blow to it. DX Xavier takes down the last player, and it is BTR to go down first in the 3-way engagement. Carrillo now in a 1 versus 2 to hold the ridgeline before the res can come on through. The backline needs to get back in action for Alpha 7 because Carrillo is down, Revo is down, McGrellin falls next, and up from the bottom they go. It's DX Xavier.
It's a fantastic game for DX. I mean, I called it quite early as well in terms of they'll have a very good time from that position. But the fact they're able to set themselves up so nicely on that northern side, playing the low ground, kind of shunting PTR forward, encouraging them to fight versus Alpha 7. Might have worked a little bit differently if it wasn't for the fact that Zuxi was so clean on that western edge. He was doing such a good amount of work versus Alpha 7, made it very difficult to move up. But yeah, for DX, they'll be plenty pleased with that fight there, and a good finish to it as well.
Absolutely, what a clean ending for DX Xavier. I mean, it was really tussly, very difficult to navigate against those rocks, but DX Xavier were able to claim the victory. A nice timely downhill rotate, able to give them the ground, the control that they needed, and take home the first chicken dinner of 2 Miramars.
Well, I know we really want to discuss DX Xavier, Alpha 7, BTR in that 3-way battle, but we have to start from our roots here. Start from how the game initially kicked off. Inko, and Harami, bro.
Don't even get me started, man. It
happened.
It happened, but you have so many options. You have the trash loot to the west. There are compounds nearby that I saw were free. Like, you have options if you really want to. If you're Inko or Harame Bro, I think Harame Bro is going to understand. We don't want to fight Inko anymore because they're so damn stubborn when it comes down to the hot drops, right, Jukes? That is just what they do. So even talking to Seven earlier, they are the stubborn teams that never gives up on a hot drop location. So it's odd. And Blank mentioned a very interesting point, Jukes, that I think we can all agree upon, right? They also lose so much time when it comes to looting. They were under-looted, taking their own fight in the circle. Like, you lose so much taking those hot drops. So it needs to stop now. It's not working out.
In a tournament where top 3 is the goal, you have zero, and I mean zero, business doing any hot drops, especially on a map like Miramar or Aragale, where we're playing it so often. I mean, it just completely dips into your entire tournament. It really does. I mean, because even if you do win the fight, like we just saw Inko did, Jason, right? They are so far behind, like we mentioned, and it just puts them on the back foot for the rest of this game. So like the odds of getting like a decent or even a big game, they go down so significantly.
Yeah, the only winning you get from that is just the couple of points that you get from elimination. Otherwise, It's going to be all negatives. But speaking of the opposite of negatives, pauses. Paragin, 1,266 damage. Now, I know the man's not here, but at least he can be here in essence.
Oh, yeah.
Sees the 1,300 damage almost, gets himself in there, Scalars. But yeah, this is, again, I was talking about before, right? I want to see higher damage numbers. We did have like the nice 7 elims compared to the 700 damage. But man, 2 elims to 1,200 damage, Hot Jukes? Goddamn.
That's a terrible conversion. That's terrible. He was doing tons of damage, just wasn't able to get those finishes. But still, I mean, hey, clutched up that chicken dinner, and that's something that a team, I think, like DX Xavier definitely needed to win sooner rather than later, Max.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, DX Xavier, we knew they were going to get it eventually, and they showed it here. Get rid of that replay. Thank you. Okay, let's skip the hot drop. I do not want to see it. It is. Oh no! Don't take me back to the hot drop. I'm just getting trolled by production right now.
Is this PMWI as they keep putting into your camera the solo shot?
No, don't zoom in on my face, please. I've had enough of that. But yeah, they see the hot drop again. We said it earlier. There are options. Actually, before we focus on like the meat and potatoes of this game, right, Jason, and we talk about the DX, the BTR, the Alpha 7 fight. You brought it up at some point in that game. This is another big fragging game for Major Pride, right? Like, what was it? 10 eliminations? They got some
11
crater fields? What?
11 eliminations. Like, a team who in PMSL could barely keep one player alive, or would typically only keep one player alive when we get to the latest stage of the game, and they come into PMGC and easily more difficult tournament on so many different fronts, and they're able to pull off multiple games with 10 plus eliminations. I don't know what Major Pride did from then till now, but man, whatever it is working.
Good spot south of Crater Fields, just all the teams trying to leave and go right into their spot. Though, we did see BTR go for like a big swipe on the southern side, right, Hot Jukes? And we had like a little bit of a back and forth. I thought they were going to crash Alpha 7. You thought they were going to go to the western side of the circle, which you were right at the end. They did end up going there. But that sweep on the south initially, like, was just such an initial good setup for them to pull off that play, right?
Dude, it really, really was. I mean, these guys had to move so calculated, and they moved perfectly. Like, they made the right decision. You're right. They could have gone left. They could have gone right. They chose to go left towards that mountainside, utilize that cover, and just creep in little by little. This last fight was crazy because, let's be real, I thought Alpha 7 was going to win it, because usually when you see Alpha 7 all 4 up back against the blue in the last final circle, it's very, very rare you see them lose that one. But, I mean, yeah, you can just see, like, the nerves on all these people's faces are definitely starting to ring out. But, man, that one was so close. It could have gone either way. But D-Xavier, they timed that fight so perfectly, and were able to clutch it up at the end. Very nice. Very, very nicely done.
I think Bigatron deserve a lot more props, too, because they were the meat in that sandwich, having to deal with D-Xavier and Alpha 7, and they made the correct, moves, correct positions to take these fights. Obviously, they did go down. But for them to survive that kind of long with the barrage of nades coming away from Alpha 7, we saw D-Xavier at one point have like 18 nades that they can throw out towards the max.
Yeah, it was like, use the bloody nades. Why are you not using them? But at some point, Badajin just had a really fantastic nade. I think he got a flush and a knock, so it was just creating so much extra space for D-Xavier in that position. But BTR, I think realistically here, Hot Jukes, and tell me if you agree, I think looking at the terrain, you're pinched between Alpha 7 that are just trying to stay away from the fight to the east and not really getting too involved, and DX trying to peek over that ridge and chuck in nades. I think BTR had the toughest location to play in that finish. Yeah. I'm not surprised they didn't win it, but it was a tough one.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. BTR definitely had the hardest route, but they still came out with 11 points. And that's what this is about, right? That's how you win championships, right? Whenever you have a bad circle, you put at least 6 points. That's the goal, right? If you get the zone, you want double-digit eliminations, crazy chicken dinner, right? But it goes to show that they'll still put up double digits even when the going gets tough. So that's a great sign for BTR fans out there.
You know, Max, I feel like that curse that we always talk about for you has been rubbed off on Hot Jukes, because Hot Jukes is like, Inko, gonna be amazing. Gonna be top 3 at the end of Group Yellow. They're not doing so hot. And then he's like, yeah, Alpha 7, they're gonna be good on Miramar, just not today, not on day 1. And then they do good on Miramar. Hot Jukes, I don't know what's going on, man.
Well, let's put it this way. Good on Miramar
Freaky
for
Friday?
Alpha 7 is a chicken dinner, okay? And that didn't happen. So, like, I think I was half right.
That's true. I did want to give a shout out as well to one team out there, Team Spirit. We were talking about while we're watching the match, playing over towards Crater Fields, and they dealt with Demorte. They got a ton of eliminations. Even Reagan's Gaming had an awkward push. You were talking about Max sending, I believe it was 2 players to the low ground.
I think it's the Muerte that got pushed in their direction. Then you had by Regans actually, and then Regans also sent it downhill. It was a weird push. But this is the thing we like about Team Spirit. They're very opportunistic in the sense that they see teams come their way, they can take shots, they're just going to take them. They're going to clear that space northwest, and they're going to facilitate their later rotation by doing so, while also getting eliminations in the process. So it was a good one from Team Spirit. I really liked how they played it, but then they moved into Major Pride, and as we saw, well, Major Pride got a ton of eliminations, so you might just know how they got the elims. It was on Team Spirit.
Look at this. Like, typically, we'll see, you know, like that 1, maybe 2 players really put up the damage eliminations for a team.
Oh, yeah.
We have 3 players from Major Pride in our top 4. Now, I understand Major Pride do have a lot more limbs than all the other teams out there, but this goes back to what we've been saying for like 2 years now, that you can't just have that 1 or 2 star players. And right now we're seeing 3 for Major Pride all pop off on the same day.
Are we seeing Major Pride just stay top 3 this entire group? It's a real prospect because they're creating such a big cushion for themselves, right? I don't know what you think, Haldrix, but I'm like, if they keep this up for 2 days, I'd say top 3 is definitely possible for them to maintain that spot.
Definitely. I mean, not to mention just the ease it's going to give them for the rest of these days. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they have 60 points, a good solid lead. That's a 20-point difference from them in 4th place, right? Now, 20 points is a lot, but it's also not that much. It's kind of like a double-edged sword because, I mean, one good game from one of these teams could pass them up easy, right? But, I mean, at the end of the day, if your goal is top 3, Major Pride, you got to be so stoked with how you perform today.
They 42 limbs, man. Like Vampire.
That's more limbs than 4th place? in total points.
Exactly. Like they have 16 more limbs than Vampire, who's in second at the moment. Like that's insane. And I don't know what else to say, Max, that I haven't said already when it comes to Major Pride. Like, this is not the same team we saw in CSA, and I'm all here for it if they can really pull it off.
Yeah, we had that one game. I think the last Erangel was like, that feels a little bit CSA-ish, and they kind of brought it back a little bit and starting to play together. So yeah, their synergy is on point. They're taking some really good fights. Not only taking really good fights here, Jason. I think that it's mostly they're taking good positions that enables them to be aggressive and to like get some easy eliminations because teams have to rotate their way. That's what they did here in Crater Field. So love it. And I got to say, they're getting some good use out of that team picture